Hello and welcome to the St. Clair hosting of the League of Legends matches happening today. We got St. Clair versus McMaster coming. I am Chase Acarcio Mitchell, and this is my co-caster Andre Frez. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I definitely am really excited to see what we can kind of see in this second game. We kind of saw a little bit of a stomp happen in the first game. I'd really like to see if St. Clair is able to keep their mindset level-headed, as you can kind of tell things were just falling apart after that early game. If they are able to keep that mental composure going into the second game, I think that they do definitely have a chance to try to take it away here. That being said, I think that as far as the main problem in that first game that we kind of saw was that they didn't have a designated shot caller. They kind of didn't know what to do. It seemed like they were all kind of autopiloting. So if they can kind of like fix that part of their gameplay, maybe they can actually kind of work something out this time. And yeah, look at that. I'm not surprised to see that ban at all.
Oh yeah, the immediate LeBlanc fan coming on the side of St. Clair. We got St. Clair on the blue side for this draft, and McMaster on the red side immediately pulling out that ban onto the Alistar again, looking like they're going to be focusing bans again on the bot lane, even though the bot lane wasn't able to do much last game.
So something I'm actually really interested to know is that if McMaster actually does play Aphelios or not. Because Aphelios is a really, really strong pick, and I feel like as we saw in that previous game, the bot lane just completely outclassed St. Clair's. So I don't think they should really be afraid of letting St. Clair kind of take these ADCs unless they actually really don't play them, because otherwise, why wouldn't you pick Aphelios yourself if you can play, right? So I definitely am wondering whether Ager is actually able to play Aphelios or not.
I think it might be a bit of. Do you know if Blazing plays a lot of Aphelios or not?
I know he's been starting to play it.
Okay, so it might be a bit of the Masters team looking at the team that they believe is lower ranked and being like, well, Aphelios is seen as a really easy way to stomp. We don't want to give them this easy way to potentially get a foot in this game. So we're just going to take it out of the equation. I know a lot of teams will do that. When these OP champions are around, they'll just take it out of the equation and just not have to deal with it.
Yeah, and that's also why they're probably getting rid of the Misfortune as well. Kind of because Misfortune isn't exactly the most mechanical AD carry to play in League of Legends. So taking away that Misfortune from them would actually kind of give force Blazing to play a little bit more challenging champion. As you know, it's very easy to kind of take over games with Misfortune. But that being said, we see the Nautilus being picked again for the side of St. Clair. Nothing new there. Set being picked on the side of McMaster, and we see the Aurelian Soul Hover.
I'm gonna be really surprised if that ends up being picked.
Yeah,
it was just the meme pick to bait out the Leona. Same comps so far coming out from both teams. Hopefully not going to be a full repeat performance. Olaf did get banned on the side of St. Clair, obviously trying to prevent Real Darkness from being able to pull it out against them. So going to be interesting to see what new jungler they pull. It might be trying to counterpick the Jarvan, looking at it, because he was able to do a ton that game. And the Draven, woo, trying to flex onto the enemy team with this pick. What do you think St. Clair's thinking with that one?
I don't know what they're thinking, if you want me to be honest. He's not exactly played at all right now. And if he is played, he's played by Draven One Tricks. You know what I mean? Even Tyler One's not playing Draven right now. He's playing Heimerdinger. So
and jungle, right?
I'm really skeptical on this Draven pick. Especially after what happened last game. They didn't do anything for that bottom lane. Like Jesse, he didn't do anything as far as setting up getting Blazing ahead of here. And if you're going to pick someone like Draven, you need to win that lane. Leona is actually really good into Draven. So that's another thing I'm not sure as to why. And
it's because Draven's main thing against certain enemy bot laners, like a good example is maybe not quite Thresh, but other engaged types, is that he can, even if he gets engaged on, he can use the E to prevent that engage from ever happening, where Leona, literally, the minute that E hits on, she's going to you. You can't stop it. She's almost unstoppable, if I'm not mistaken. It's only like major CCs that really prevent it from happening, which is like major displacements.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we also see the Pantheon being picked on the side of St. Clair. Young Falcon actually plays Pantheon mid. I know that because I played it against it in the tryouts. So
fair enough.
Yeah, that was the Anivia Pantheon matchup there. But that being said, so I know that could potentially be going to the mid lane. It could be in the jungle. It could be in the top lane. probably not going support.
Yeah, probably not.
So
We
yeah,
already got the Nautilus pick, and we saw Night Soap's comfort with that pick and banning out the Ari. Trying,
interesting.
I guess, kind of looking at the fact that they wanted to get rid of the LeBlanc, and now they're looking at the fact, oh, hey, these are the champions that have the exact similar gameplay as LeBlanc. So we go down the list. We have LeBlanc. Ari's the next in that kind of thought process. So I see
Yeah.
next as a ban, it's either another very similar AP assassin, so potentially Diana could be another band coming out.
I
Uh,
expect St. Clair to actually pick up Mordekaiser here. Hear me out.
Mhm.
So they don't exactly have much magic damage right now. We know that the Young Falcon actually does play Pantheon mid lane, and they already are committing even more bans into the mid lane as we see the Veigar pick as well, or the Veigar ban as well. So I would not be surprised if we see the Young Falcon actually play Pantheon for himself here, and then we see Lord Touchme actually take Mordekaiser into the top lane as well, as we've seen him actually not only play Mordekaiser but thrive on it in the past.
Oh yeah, and if I remember correctly, I overheard the St. Clair team kind of talking about the fact that if they didn't do as well at the first game, they're going to look to try to have a bit more fun, try to get what they want out of the second game. And there's the Mordekaiser pick coming in, so they're trying to more sit onto their comfort picks probably and seeing if that provides anything different for them, because sometimes these crack full safety type things that aren't necessarily decided by meta, but rather the comforts of the people on the teams, is what can make these games completely change.
Yes, I completely agree with you. The Yumi hover. I would imagine that's kind of just like a little like I don't know what to pick. Yeah, I'm gonna hover Yumi. That being said, if for whatever reason we're in a world where Yumi is picked here, I would imagine it's Pantheon going in the jungle and maybe like Nautilus top, Mordekaiser mid. But no, we end up seeing Gragas. Gragas definitely being a little bit more of a standard pick, giving them a little bit more magic damage on their team as well, as their only source of magic damage was coming from Mordekaiser here. They have a really beefy team.
Oh yeah, a lot of big tanky boys and boys that can become tanky boys. Pantheon probably one of the best mid-game bruisers in the game, as long as he's able to get into that cycle of getting a bit ahead in that early game, kind of what we saw from the Jarvan in the last game, and the Cassiopeia coming in for the mid lane. That seems like a really rough lane for Pantheon, as someone that's played it on the Cassiopeia side.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, oh boy, it's gonna be a little bit rough here. That's the problem with. Although you do get the first pick and you get those priority picks in the first part of the draft, as soon as you lock in your team, it's kind of easy for your opponents to see, okay, this person's probably going here, this person's going in this lane. So the fact that like, even if it was Mordekaiser mid, that would be even worse. You know what I mean? Like Cassiopeia just does really well into both these kinds of champions. That being said here, we see the Draven for Blazin here. I think that's actually going to be their win condition here. Blazin really needs to get ahead. He has so much protection. He has Mordekaiser, Gragas, Pantheon, Nautilus. Can you ask for more support and protection as an AD carry? I don't think you can get it, folks. So that being said, if Jesse does a really good job this game on trying to shut down Aegir and actually get Draven some early kills, maybe even burn Kaelin's flash again this game on level 1. They might be able to try to take over this game. That being said, going over to the red side here, nothing out of the ordinary. We see a lot of meta picks here. Elise being a new addition to the comp this game, as well as Cassiopeia. Elise being a really good early game jungler, as well as setting up dives. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some dives going on early.
Oh yeah, considering the rotations that we were seeing, and that they already like really do a good job at creating the situations where they can dive. So with the Elise now coming in as that prime diving jungler, it's probably gonna see a dive at least top lane once or twice within that early game. I think very similar to last game, this game is going to be decided. At least the pace of the game is going to be decided by that first jungle interaction, right? It's going to be, hopefully it won't happen in the exact same way, but there's going to be that little scuffle at one of the scuttles. It's going to be interesting to see if St. Clair tries to change their pressure this time around, because they didn't have any pressure in the top lane. They had the pressure in the mid lane, and were able to get a good start on the trade, but then lost it because the set was going to be able to come in. So maybe we might see the Mordekaiser trying to get that heavy push in, get that early pressure, so then they can really fight around that scuttle.
I think that if Draven doesn't end up getting ahead this game, I do think that the Mordekaiser will actually be a pretty good backup plan for them. We've seen him actually carry these games before, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to try to do something here. Even last game, when his whole team was falling apart, you saw like probably a combined 12 deaths or plus on the rest of his team. And then the Clair was just chilling 1-0-0 in the top lane, you know, minding his own business. So I think that he, as a player himself, is actually capable of doing it. And if he was going to do it on a champion, this would be a good one to do it on. That being said, if executed actually gets really far ahead this game, I do think it's going to be very, very difficult for St. Clair to try to do something. That being said, they do have the lockdown with the Nautilus, the Pantheon to try to get onto the Cassiopeia. I personally would have really liked to see Cassiopeia take Cleanse this game. I think that Cleanse for the Pantheon and the Nautilus would have been really good to make sure that Cassiopeia stays as a slippery snake. But she ended up taking Barrier for the protection here.
I think the main worry for the Cassiopeia is worrying about that very early damage from the Pantheon between the Ignite and the damage that he can just pump out in those early trades. But as the game goes on, the W becomes a really good safety net against this team, being able to fully counter any of their engages from either Gragas, Nautilus, or Pantheon himself. So she might be really leaning on that, and might be why she didn't decide to take Cleanse.
Yeah, a little bit interesting. Yeah, and if she was worried about the Ignite damage, Cleanse actually protects more than the Barrier would, unless you were to pop the Barrier before the Ignite actually happened, as the Cleanse just completely wipes out the Ignite as well. That being said, it's a little bit of more of a personal kind of what feels best for you kind of deal. Yeah. So as we get into the early game here, I definitely want to see St. Clair try to prioritize a lot more pressure around the Drakes this time. Maybe try to make a proactive play in the bot lane, get Draven a kill, and rotate over towards that dragon, similar to what McMaster did last game.
Yeah, and seeing how McMaster had a really big focus on Rift Herald, I think they had better rotations to the Rift Herald generally than necessarily to the Dragon. The Dragon was always kind of like secondary to what they were doing outside of the later trades where they were able to push like St. Clair or their own jungle. So I want to see St. Clair know that they have this heavy focus on the early Rift Heralds, trying to get both Shelly and Herald, and using that instead to be like, okay, we know you're going to set up for this Herald. You can have it. We're going to take the Dragon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And something that we've seen so far this season is the actual nerfs to the solo Drakes themselves. They're not actually as impactful as a standalone Drake, but it's in fact a lot more powerful when you get 4 and you get a full set of Drakes that actually gets you that soul, and then the Elder Drake that comes after, which literally just wins you games.
Oh yeah.
It's I don't even want to see an Elder Drake. It's just not a good time for the other team at all. I don't think I've actually, as far as like, this is much more anecdotal for me. As far as my personal games, I don't think I've played a game where the team that had Elder Drake actually lost the game.
Yeah, I have to pretty much say the same, because that execute window, how it buffs your already present buffs, and the
burn as well,
and the positions that the teams have to be in for that fate, because there's no way, even if you're like 20-0 behind, you're trying to fight for that Drake. You're trying to get in, because that's your make all give all trade, right? It's like, if I let you have it, we lose. Yeah. But if I try to fight for it, maybe get a steal, I might have a chance. So now as we come into this game, both teams loading in. Probably not going to see much. Maybe maybe the Caitlyn will step forward a little bit too much again.
Hopefully she learned her lesson.
Hopefully. Do you think it's possible that they might look for something silly?
I would just imagine a standard line of scrimmage here. I think if any team is going to do it, it would be St. Clair, as they have the setup as well as the Draven. But that being said, it appears that, you know, both teams are playing pretty safe, at least even checking the River Bush with her W, with her Spiderling there.
Looking like St. Clair's going to get an early ward. Do you think... oh, and I was just about to ask, do you think McMaster's going to push for a ward? And they did it right as I was talking about it.
I think that... Well, first of all, I want to talk about how McMaster actually only pushed for that ward, knowing that we saw that there were multiple members of St. Clair on the top side putting their own ward. I definitely think the placement of Jesse's ward there was a little bit questionable, and the timing of it as well. As they already knew Elise was there. We saw the spider leg. Like, there's no questions asked. If you're putting a ward there, you're literally just checking to see if Elise is actually right there at that moment in time. A better ward would have been to actually commit both Pantheon, the jungler, and the Mordekaiser into pushing into that jungle there, knowing because they spotted the Leon and the Caitlyn on the bot side. They're not really worried about dying there, as well as the fact that they're just really, really safe early. I think that if they put it a ward more deep into the jungle towards the bush next to the Raptors, like going towards the tier 2 turret, that would have been a lot better, as you would actually get to see the Elise path from the bot side going into her top side, and then you would be able to see if she's going to her red buff, if she's starting her chickens. I'm not quite sure if we can actually see if that ward has any vision on the Raptor camp. That would be really interesting to know if we could. It does not.
Yeah, you can tell from the way that it's curved on the platform. Maybe at most it sees one of the chickens.
Right, and that would be their only out to see if she's actually on it. But like that being said, anyways, I definitely think that it should have went at least a little bit deeper, and the timing of it was a little bit early as well, as it's going to expire here. As you can see, look, the second Elise gets up there, it expires as soon as she entered that bush. So even if she did path towards her chickens, they wouldn't know.
Yeah, and knowing that she knew that it was there, she could also purposely change her position going through her own jungle so that she wouldn't get to see it. To go on to more present matters, the bot lane's been really struggling so far. The small little clips that we've been seeing of them, they're constantly sitting below health, already having used... Nautilus already having to have used one of his pots at the start of this and able to start getting a decent CS lead from the side of bot lane. But Elise sitting there, the spider in the shadows, great engage from the set to start that engage, as Caitlyn also takes the bot lane at the same time. That cross map similar timing, and it's looking like McMaster's already taken a step ahead in this game.
Well, first of all, the play from the Mordekaiser there was actually huge. The fact that they managed to get out there, I really liked that E from Mordekaiser, to actually throw it in the opposite direction. As the Mordekaiser pull actually went back into him, it actually pulled the Elise and the set away from him, going towards the lane. But
the bot lane putting pressure onto the Gragas, taking advantage of the fact that they don't have any pressure and just taking that life for free, as Caitlyn's going to get even more of a CS advantage, starting to become partially a jungler. There's the tower dive we were talking about. The Elise coming in, taking advantage of the fact that she can take away the tower aggro, and she's going to do it right after this, and dodging the tower shot just with a second of timing. That was a great tower dive.
I didn't even think that was a rappel. I thought that the turret actually killed the Elise, and that's why she went off of the screen. As the shot actually went onto the Elise, that amazing rappel, I thought there was no way she's getting out of that one, though.
Oh yeah, it comes out so quickly, and because your spider form switches so quickly, you immediately gain that invulnerability. And an engage coming in from the mid lane. St. Clair trying to bring back some of these kills. Great miasma, but not able to be enough. And they're finally starting to even up these trades and get that first kill for the side of St. Clair.
That kill on the Draven that we kind of missed about a minute or two ago was actually really, really important, and I want to address why. So Caitlyn and Leona did a really good job at clearing the wave before going in there. So they had that minion advantage before taking that fight, and on top of that, they ended up taking down the Draven anyways, and they had the lane priority. So Draven didn't actually get any of his minions before that fight, so that was a full cannon wave and a half that he actually missed, going right into his turret where Nautilus got a bunch of XP, and then Draven just ended up getting not even the gold, but no XP from it at all because he was in base.
And then nonetheless taking away his own passive stacks, not able to either stack it on the minions or able to keep those stacks he already had. And now you can see with this difference in gold now in the bot lane. Ooh, great Q coming out from the Nautilus, able to pick off the Leona, but she's too tanky. E coming out to try to slow down the Caitlyn, preventing that snare from hitting him in the CC chain. Elise starting to come down towards the bot lane, might be able to take advantage of the Draven's aggressive positioning, as Cassiopeia is just wandering through their jungle for free. That pink ward making all the difference. The stun on the Nautilus looking like it's going to be able to get the kill. The Nautilus flash making him try to get away. The repel not going to be used aggressively, using the minions to get away as the Cassiopeia comes up from behind, trying to get that sneaky kill, and looking like they're going to use that minion advantage to take the tower. Clair making the smart choice to give it up so they don't lose the tower and kills, so they're just going to lose the dragon.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we're talking about as far as the early game pressure, putting the pressure on that Draven early on, maybe getting a kill or forcing him to respond to that wave so that they could probably try to get some pressure on the straight, but they're actually not going to take it yet.
I think they're trying to play it a bit safe. Caitlyn hasn't backed at this point. We just see her buying a BF sword now. They know that the Gragas is going to be coming back. They know the bot lane is going to be coming back around. They didn't get the kill on them, right? And Gretchen coming out from both sides. Mordekaiser looking like he might be trying to tower dive, but not quite able to commit it as there's a bit of a skirmish going on in the bot lane. In the river, sorry, as Gragas takes over half his health in just that short trade. McMaster finally using that rotation and the gold advantage to now look like they're going to pressure that dragon. That's actually really smart.
Yeah, and exactly. And we saw after they ended up trying to dive the Draven Nautilus, Draven had a bunch of minions to try to catch up on, and he's actually going to end up backing to try to get some gold here. But does Clair even know they're on it?
Looking at the world situation, they don't. They probably have an idea that they were on it just because of the situation. Gragas was fighting in the river.
Yeah.
They knew the bot lane was coming back around, and Cassiopeia. It's interesting how a mid laner doing nothing for a rotation speaks more to what they want out of the rotation sometimes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Young Falcon actually hasn't quite left his lane yet. Well, Jesse did a really good gank onto the Cassiopeia early on to get that double buff transfer onto the Pantheon. And it seems like he's actually doing well for his own now. He's not giving anything over to Cass despite her getting that early kill. Looking right now, it looks like both teams is trying to farm up a little bit. And I really would have liked to see Blazin try to get a little bit more of a lead. That being said, I think that when they tried to get a little bit of a lead in the bot side of the map, hang on a second.
A bit of a fight coming in from the top lane. The big set damage coming out, just barely missing that sweet spot to get that huge damage. And the set pressure, unsurprised. Set, no MR, only health, which Mordekaiser loves. Still like hard winning those trades now.
Yeah. One of the fights that happened early on in the bot lane that I kind of want to bring back to is the fact that when Blazin was level 3 coming back from base, he did have that boots advantage, if you will, to kind of help him kite in these fights. But when he was level 3 and everyone else in bottom lane was level 4, and they ended up trying to take that fight, we saw Nightsoap ended up pulling the Leona out of that second bush there. But I don't really like it. I think that if you're going to do that, you got to wait till your Draven actually gets a level, because early on, if you're down a full level, even though you have all your abilities, it doesn't matter. You're not going to end up winning those trades, especially if you're trying to burst down a Leona.
Oh yeah, Leona, one of the best early game tanks in the bot lane, but just because of the W alone provides such a huge boost to your resistances, and especially because you're able to take full resistances early. Here's the early Rift Heralds we were talking about earlier from the side of McMaster, bringing over the bot lane across, making it, and really smart decision to send Cassiopeia bot lane, able to absorb more CS, start to get a lead onto the Pantheon, and Mordekaiser not able to do anything. That's a 4v1. What's he going to do?
Yeah, he's not going to be able to defend anything on his own here. I think that if St. Clair, they should probably try to set something on this Cassiopeia. We see the pings going in. It looks like Gragas wants to set up something.
Yeah, Pantheon coming in. Pantheon ultimate, big trade coming in. The knock-up and the stun coming in to finally take that life, and able to start getting some pressure from the onto the turret, but the pressure across the rest of the map making that trade look like it's going to be a negative now, as it's looking like the mid tower is going to go down for the side of McMaster.
We saw this happen last game, but in the top lane, where Nightsoap actually tried to tank a little bit of turret shots for his team to try to protect them, but he ended up taking one too many again, as they only ended up getting a 1-for-1 trade. That being said, if you're going to end up going for something like that, you got to get a lot of plates, you got to get a lot of gold to try to make that dive worth if you're going to end up sacrificing a 1-for-1 trade here. They ended up losing a lot.
The engage coming in from the Pantheon, taking advantage of the forward positioning of Leona. Great engage and ultimate from the Gragas, able to push back the entire back lane, forcing out 2 flashes. The cross-map ultimate coming in from the Draven to be able to take Elise's life along with the Ignite. Great trade for St. Clair, taking advantage of one of McMaster's few too aggressive plays.
That was absolutely huge. That was some LCS plays right there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like all the way from, we see the Nautilus going in as well, and like the cross-map Draven getting the both the Cassiopeia and the Caitlyn as well hitting them, and the double Gragas ult from Jesse as well.
Miasma coming in for the Cassiopeia, preventing the Gragas from getting away. Good positioning to get out of it, but the set positioning is better with that flash, able to get the free kill onto the Gragas and starting to pressure this turret. These fights going back and forth. This game has been a constant slaughterfest, especially comparative to the last one.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Oh, more engages coming out from the Mordekaiser. Great grab on the set, knowing his ult's down, knowing his he hasn't been stacking up that grit yet. Cassiopeia desperately trying to use that ult, stoning the enemy team, but not able to get enough damage out, as it's looking like with Blazing coming in that their damage is going to be high enough, but Elise coming in looking to get that, great flash from the Nautilus to dodge the bullet from Caitlyn, as it's, even though St. Clair won that trade, they're going to lose the turret because of the health differences.
Yeah, at that point when the turret is that low, it's not going to take much for McMaster to get that there. It seems like there's a lot more early game pressure from both of these teams. So you mentioned before we started this game that you wanted to see St. Clair try to make a lot more aggression, kind of just not sit back. And it's almost like they heard you, because maybe they did, maybe they did, I don't know. But that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting a lot more early game pressure. They're trying to get these kills, and they're actually, the execution of it is really, really well. Is he going to try to steal this?
Oh yeah, he's going to. There's no way there's no reason not to try to get the steal. I think
That's respectable.
I can understand going for the less risky one, but I think it would have been worth it to go into that pit, possibly die, but try to trade the smites.
I think that if it was last season, it would have been worth, because at the best case scenario is that he trades his life for the Drake. He's definitely not going to get a kill out of it. That's best case. He's not necessarily guaranteed that. If that was like Soul Point, or if that was Elder Drake, or that was Baron, I would say absolutely. But to get like a 3% health regen out of combat every 5 seconds, it's you know what I mean? It's not necessarily that, especially when the game is this close right now.
Oh, yeah.
To give that kill over would just be absolutely horrible for St. Clair. So I think that going for the ultimate was definitely respectable, but I definitely think that he should not have went into the pit, which was his decision at the end of the day.
Yeah. School me a little there. I fully agree with you on that. I keep forgetting how much smaller this Dragon's worth. It's looking like there might be a play coming in on the bot lane here, possibly trying to take advantage of Elise, get another tower dive, at the very least get more tower damage as Elise backs, and Set is starting to move in onto this Mordekaiser as he's pushed up a little bit.
Yeah, the plates are actually still up for another 30 seconds. You would think with all this action happening around the map here that we would be 20, 25 minutes into the game. We're only 13 minutes in. We got a full game ahead of us.
Oh, we got a full game, and I'm super excited. St. Clair, that the first couple trades that happened made it look like it was going to be a lot worse, as Set and Mordekaiser starting to duke it out. Set taking a ton of damage and just easily dying to the Mordekaiser. Set's going for a very aggressive build, and that is not able to tank the full might of the Iron Juggernaut. As the Elise comes in, great ease to snipe him in the vision, and the repel to get the vision and keep on him, and finally takes the kill. Good trade for McMaster, taking advantage of the fact he got that kill and had the shutdown.
That was very, very well played by Elise there. To get, he's actually only loses 2 baby chickens there. But anyways, as I was saying, that was very, very well played by the Elise there. I really like the patience to wait for the flash before throwing the cocoon and actually landing it, and then to follow up, patiently wait for the Mordekaiser EQ to like burst down the Elise, and then repelling to dodge that damage, and then going on the Mordekaiser as he tries to run away. Was really, really well played all around from Elise there.
Oh yeah. The engage coming in from the bot lane, not having the flash to get that E to hit. Crazy ult going out, trying to get that hard read on the E. a good stopwatch to avoid death from the Caitlyn as Draven cleans up that kill and finally starts to get some of that passive coming in as we have Leona sitting that bush, kind of watching her friend die and just being like, yeah, I can't do nothing.
Yes, I think that if you're going to go for a play like that, you definitely got to try to land those vital abilities. Maybe he was trying to predict a flash that wasn't necessarily up yet.
Yeah.
I do think that if that was the case, that they need to have a little bit more communication.
Mordekaiser coming in, walking up close to this Cassiopeia, getting that big damage because of the isolation. She's tanking the turret and goes down easily to the Mordekaiser. The ult not able to get the stun as Leona desperately watching another one of her friends go down as McMaster takes out this Rift Herald. St. Clair has no idea, so it's not looking like they're going to come over to contest it.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see a lot more of these neutral objectives control for St. Clair, as we haven't exactly seen. I don't think they've taken any so far today. I think that both Rift Heralds went over to McMaster. I think Baron went over to McMaster.
Did
all
they
four?
take yeah, all four Drakes. You're right.
It was all four, and yeah, we didn't get to Elder. I don't think. Yeah, we didn't get to Elder. Yeah, so I think every single neutral objective has went over to McMaster today, and that was definitely the difference last game. We saw how well they played that. They ended up taking turrets with the Rift Heralds. They ended up taking all four Drakes to get that early soul. And
you can even, sorry to interrupt, but you can even see it this game with the difference in the gold. Like, St. Clair's up in kills.
Yeah.
But they're behind in gold because of that objective difference. And it's not just towers, right? Towers are a big part for the gold portion, but the Drakes and how they've been manipulating around the Rift Heralds and whatnot have really helped them push that gold lead.
The Rift Herald specifically, the first one I really want to address, because that first Rift Herald got them 4 plates in the mid lane. So that was so much, that was almost an extra 1,000 gold going over towards the side of McMaster, and that's literally the goal difference right now.
And the engage coming in from the Elise, easily taking out that Nautilus, that squishiness we talked about from the last game, coming in this game as well, as it looks like he's starting to go into that Zeke's again, going to be squishy for a while. Great Q and E from the Mordekaiser, looking for that engage, not quite able to get it. Cassiopeia is constantly being isolated. The aggressive ult from the Leona coming in, great ult timing from the Cassiopeia to prevent Gragas from getting the kill. Mordekaiser getting onto the Caitlyn, looking like he using that isolation to get the difference. Good engage from Pantheon on the Cassiopeia, knowing she'll step up to try to help her teammates. Trying to get this 2v1 on the side of...
great heal.
Great heal and great blast cone to get out, but they're not going to be able to contest this dragon with Blazin being the only healthy member in the distance to be able to get it. They're all real low, though, and a big ult might be able to change the pace of this.
Yeah, this Pantheon and Mordekaiser are absolutely huge on the side of St. Clair. You see that range on that ult? I didn't know he could do that.
That was his E.
That was his E. Oh, it was his E. I thought that was an axe. I was like, what? Yeah, but that being said, we talked about it last game on how the Nautilus's itemization really affected how tanky and how effective he was in these fights. And when your items are just Ninja Tabby and more armor, you're not going to be doing much in these fights. It's 18 minutes into the game. He needs to have a lot more impact than just 12% auto attack reduction and some armor on his boots.
Also,
yeah,
I just want to say I really like that play from the set. I see a lot of top laners being like, I need gold, and then he's just willing to sit there and tank it and give it to his ADC. Love stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But as I was saying, I think that if he went for the Gargoyle Stone play early on, that he would be having a lot more success. We even see Leona going there at this point.
Big fight coming in between the Pantheon and the set. Didn't get to see the rest of it to fully see how it happened, but positive trade coming out for St. Clair, taking advantage of the fact that set has no armor defensive. Big damage on that Q to the Leona. I'm surprised how much that chunked out her health as we see a minor skirmish starting to happen here in the jungle. Elise coming over, Cassiopeia coming in from the side as it's a 4v3. The Greg is just getting blown up. Good ult from the Mordekaiser trying to take out the Elise. Elise desperately trying to get away, using the Propel to hold out the time. Not quite able to get the timing, and just that great flash over the wall, but not quite able to outrange the Caitlyn. The ult coming in from Cassiopeia, slowing them down. The teleport coming in from Set as Cassiopeia tanks the turret and tries and gets both the double kill as McMaster starts to pressure this turret.
Yeah, we saw the kill lead for St. Clair actually being in their favor up to this point. Now, after they get that those kills, they end up being up 14-13 themselves, turning that 800 gold lead into a 4,500 gold lead, and they're not done. They're bringing the Rift Herald into the top lane. They're shoving into the mid lane right now. St. Clair falling apart here, not knowing exactly what they want to do. Oh, that was a lot of damage.
Oof, yeah.
Oh.
Great W timing from the set to tank out that ult. Set was that low because he was trying to tank the turret, so the Rift Herald will possibly get another on the inhibitor, and Leona tanking out the Gragas and allowing Elise to get that kill just under the edge of the turret as St. Clair's base is open on both the north and the middle side.
Yeah, it seems like St. Clair now, they had that lead. They were very confident. I do like the confidence coming from them, but it almost seems like specifically on the Gragas right now that he might actually be a little bit tilted right now. He's trying very hard to try to make these plays. He's walking into a Leona and a Cassiopeia trying to make these plays. They ended up taking down the Cassiopeia there, but I'm not really a huge fan of it right now. I think that with the Baron up, you need to be getting not only like just being alive for it, but you need to be getting pressure around that. And if you're just dying over and over trying to like force these plays, like he's getting bursted down so quick. He's going full AP Gragas, which is normal, and like he should be doing that. But if he's going to be going in like this, he needs to be sure that he's going to get the kill immediately, because otherwise he's just going to die instantly.
Especially into anything like Leona and Cassiopeia, they're able to just, if you make a misplay, you're locked down for the next minimum 3 seconds. Right? Sorry, 4 actually. 2 seconds on Cassiopeia stun, and then Leona overall is probably like 4 seconds on her own.
Yeah, and as we look at the builds of St. Clair, we see the Mordekaiser and the Pantheon both acknowledging that the amount of CC and magic damage that the side of McMaster has is absolutely huge. Nautilus ended up going Tabbies mainly because that's just more of a better item on tanks in general, as you don't need...
Ooh, the engage coming in from the Mordekaiser, picking out the Leona, trying to aggressively get wards, but the damage coming in from the Elise, able to pick out the Mordekaiser, but the big ultimate from the Pantheon rolling over Elise and Leona as the big trades are starting to come out. The setup for the Cassiopeia, just having both the Fat Man and the Buff Man coming in to whack him. The Draven getting taken out by Set as Pantheon is trying to chip away at him, slow him down, as it looks like both Olaf and Pantheon are going to chase the Set into their own jungle. Coming into the bot side, desperately trying to pick up the Flash E coming in to finally take that life, as the ace comes in from St. Clair, able to finally fully take out McMaster.
Yeah, I think normally I'm against chases like that, but there's no way Pantheon and Gragas are going to be able to duel that Baron, and there was no waves immediately pressuring their turrets, so I'm actually completely for that chase. I think that was really, really good of them to
especially
actually go
with
for that.
The shutdown added on top
Yes,
of that.
exactly. That set actually picked up quite a few kills before his last death here, and now we see Soul Point coming up again for McMaster being the win.
Ooh, the engage coming in from the Pantheon onto the Elise, almost fully taking out her life between Gragas and Elise. Caitlyn trying to place those traps, trying to get the placement for it, as this is the direct opposite of what you were talking about earlier, with Gragas constantly throwing out himself trying to get those things. Now Elise has been mispositioning a lot.
Yeah, it appeared that she didn't actually have much vision there. They had the ward in the river bush going towards the mid lane there, but they had it was complete darkness around that pit, and it seems like that's what she kind of wanted to do. But something that I see a lot is that a lot of players will try to go get some vision because they don't have it, because like she recognized that the threat of the dragon was up, and that I need to get vision here so I know if they're there. But like when you already know they had that ward behind the red buff there, so they knew that St. Clair was already around it. So although you can't visually see them like on your screen, you know that they're there. So that's the whole point of getting vision in the first place, to know if they're there. And if you know they're there, why are you risking your life to actually try to get vision when you already have what that ward would have gotten you?
Oh yeah, and especially with the rest of her team not quite there with her, and with how squishy she is, I think it might be a bit of a symptom of she was playing Jarvan last game, was tanky as all hell, and it looks like a fight might be happening here as Leona getting that aggressive positioning, trying to get those wards again.
Passes in base.
Oh yeah, Cass is in base, and all 5 of St. Clair are here, able to provide pressure onto this Baron that they already have with vision across it. McMaster only having a pink ward on it, as it looks like that the game's going to slow down a bit as we start to put the Baron into both teams' eyes.
Yeah, if St. Clair wants to get pressure on this Baron right now, they need to get the mid lane and the top lane. They need to get that priority. The fact that the tier 1 turrets are still up for McMaster right now in the mid lane and the top lane is absolutely huge. They have so much map pressure with that. The St. Clair waves is never, ever going to pass the 50% point in the map, aside from the bot lane right now, as we saw Set actually answering that. So McMaster just has so much pressure around this Baron. All you're going to see here is you're going to have the mid wave just bounce around where the Nautilus is right now, and the top wave either shove in all the way or wait for someone like Pantheon to catch the wave where it is right now. And that's exactly what McMaster wants when they're trying to set up around this Baron, as you see them started right here.
Oh yeah, and that entire discussion, like you were saying, that positioning of the waves, allowing them to get that, keep that positioning on it, actually stepping off of the Baron, understanding that St. Clair was going to come in, taking the teleport from Mordekaiser, as St. Clair starts to take position on this Baron, possibly looking to maybe take it fully, as they force McMaster to separate into their own jungle, possibly looking to get onto the Elise, not quite able to get the positioning that they want, and having to give up the Predator to do it. But I think everything but the teleport was worth that trade to prevent them from continuing that Baron.
See, and now it's a little bit risky because Lord Touch Me is actually like arguably the strongest person on their team in these team fights, aside from the Pantheon. Pantheon doing really good in like 1v1, 2v2s, but when it comes down to it, Mordekaiser is definitely going to be putting out the most DPS in these fights. And the fact that he doesn't have teleport available for this Baron fight, look, you can see he's hesitant on whether he needs to go up or down. And right now he's matching the Set because Set is just going to be taking these turrets for free because he has the teleport advantage.
Yep, and McMaster really taking advantage of that. We're really seeing the bit of the macro difference between both teams now coming to fruition, doing that fake Baron before to then bait out the resources from St. Clair, and now coming in, and now they're just able to play around that Baron. St. Clair doing a good job of providing pressure while not fully confirming to engage, as Mordekaiser and Set just were running circles around each other.
More like Lord Chase Me.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah, and now it looks like St. Clair getting a lot of gold from those waves. They're actually going, both teams here are actually going to reset and try to get some items for themselves. I really like the QSS buy on this Draven. Even though he already has the extra shield from the Bloodthirster and that sustain in fights, he actually opted to get the QSS before finishing his Infinity Edge, which although will give him a lot less damage in these fights, I think that if he wants to try to do anything in these fights, he needs to be able to cleanse that Cassiopeia ult, the Leona ult, which keeps going onto him, or even an Elise Cocoon. So I definitely respect him for that buy. He's actually pretty close. But
ooh, the big engage coming in for the Mordekaiser, trying to pump out as much damage as he can on the Set. The wall tanking most of his Hex Tech. Ooh, that was a really good flash from both of them, as Set just desperately runs away. Mordekaiser going deep into the jungle, possibly understanding that Elise isn't going to be close by, but the bot lane is moving over, trying to get that position to aggress onto him. Getting seen by that cone, and the Elise, knowing his ult's down, is going to run at him, trying to get that Cocoon. Great flash Cocoon coming in for the surprise, taking out almost all his health in the E to get into the distance for that snipe to finally take out the kill. The flash coming out from the Draven because of oh my god, everything's coming out as the Cassiopeia trying to pick off Nitro, and the Dragon comes up just barely in time for right around that trade, as nobody on St. Clair is in position to contest this.
Soul point too.
Oh yeah, that difference with the movement speed going to be huge.
He gets it!
Whoa, great steal from the Gragas coming in. What we were talking about earlier with trying to go into that pit and trade those smites. Now this is the time to do it, because that soul is such a big deal, and that ult cooldown for St. Clair still. McMaster understanding that they still have the advantage, immediately moving over to the Baron. Who do you think is going to
I think
win
Draven needs to get off of those Krugs and get up there right now. I don't think he needed to try to stay for that gold. I think the threat of having him around on this Baron was a lot more important. As you can see,
the ult coming in from the Draven, a bit too early and a bit misplaced, as St. Clair has to give it up for free. Great ult to separate the entire enemy team. Ace in the hole taking out the Nautilus, and Greg is going down to both the Set and the Cassiopeia, as McMaster is looking to run them down, taking advantage of the superior numbers. Ooh, great Cocoon, willing to risk that Q damage. The Zhonya's trying to save Mordekaiser, but not able to get enough, as he ults onto the Set, able to try to get the kill, and
That's one.
use those superior stats to survive. Not able to survive enough. Oh, the misplacing from making the Leona ult miss, but the Caitlyn finally take that kill as it looks like McMaster will now finally take this game.
Yeah, it looks like that they might end up getting the Nexus here. That being said, Young Falcon Knights, so they're up right now. Grog is spawning soon. They might actually just opt to go for the 2 inhibitors here and then retreat to their base and try to siege with what they might have left of the Baron buff. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Young Falcon, 9-0-6 right now with an open base. That you hate to see it.
Oh, yeah. Right, that solo carry coming in. The solo queue classic, as McMaster is doing a really good job of taking out the St. Clair's jungle, not allowing them, knowing that they have this. What? Pantheon coming in onto the lease, taking advantage of the fact that she decided to randomly use her Zhonya's, and the big kill coming out with the shutdown to make the Young Falcon the legendary Falcon.
Yes, exactly. And I'd imagine that was a misclick there. And it looks like that the Young Falcon was actually watching Elise while she did that, and then she noticed that, oh, she just stopwatch. So then immediately ults in on top of that. As soon as the stopwatch is over, Pantheon's already ulted and gets the kill. Yeah, like honestly, you take those.
Yeah, exactly. You take those. Sadly, that's not going to create much of a difference into this coming Dragon fight. That's going to be the next objective coming up. Another Windrake, making it a total of 4 in this game so far. If St. Clair is able to keep getting these, they're going to be able to make more proactive plays, I believe, because overall, I think their ults are the... Actually, no, it's really close for their ults. I'm not going to make that statement.
I think that like both teams have a lot of influential ults in these team fights. You got Leona Nautilus kind of doing a lot as well. Pantheon, as far as engaging, Cassiopeia more in the middle of fights. Gragas is actually like most of their setup right now, I would say. I think that if Gragas gets a really good ult onto one of their carries, that like the rest of St. Clair would be able to follow up on that isolated target.
Yeah,
something we talked about earlier that I want to address is the fact that Gragas didn't opt to into the pit earlier when he was going for that Ocean Drake, and he just tried to take with his ult. And then I mentioned on how maybe if it was Soul Point, that would be very important. And that's exactly what he did a few minutes ago. When he like went into the pit, he sacrificed his life, but he ended up getting the Windrake to get not only his team that CDR.
Ooh, a lot of damage coming up on the Draven, having to use that Sash to be able to get out of it as the teleport comes in from the set as they look to take this final the south side turret from St. Clair. That E coming in, trying to get that engage. The set pulling them in, making Gregus take a ton of damage as the fight breaks out. Young Falcon on the backline looking like he'll finally lose his first life to the Caitlyn, and looking like St. Clair is going to be losing this trade big, almost being able to make it positive, but the squishy Nautilus and the squishy DPS coming in as Gragas tried to heal up in the base, but now finally almost giving the penta kill to Caitlyn.
That's going to be a quadra kill going over to the Caitlyn there. I wonder who stole the penta there. I kind of missed it myself there, but I'd imagine there's a little bit of flaming happening in comms right now. You took my penta! Anyways, but yeah, that's going to be game 2 going over to McMaster here. They end up getting that kill, or winning that fight, getting the quadra kill, and ended up taking the game for themselves there. Honestly, that was a lot closer than what we saw in the previous game. I think St. Clair, they kind of turned a lot of their previous mistakes around, and they actually fixed it, and they made a lot of proactive plays. Jesse actually made a lot more plays around the mid lane and the bot lane to try to get them ahead, stealing objectives as well. I think St. Clair did a really good job at playing that game, but I think that as far as the mid lane goes, I think that a few of the fights went over to McMaster that they couldn't afford to lose.
Yeah, and I think McMaster able to make those plays more is what made that difference. We really saw it the first game, but this game, now that St. Clair started boxing back, starting to get those trades back, forcing them into a more having to actually not wait out the game, have to play it more aggressive, made it that they were able to actually play the game as the game got on instead of just slowly being strangleholded out.
Yeah. It seemed like they recognized their win condition. Like having a Pantheon, having a Draven, you want to try to get these early proactive kills onto your teammates, and they recognize that, and that's exactly what they tried to do. In the previous game, although they had a little bit more scaling, I think they kind of said, they told themselves, we don't need to do this right now. We can give this up. We'll scale. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. We'll bring this game to 45, 50 minutes, and it'll be fine. and it obviously didn't work out for them, whereas they
Yeah.
picked these more proactive champions. It seems like they're a little bit more comfortable on as well, as we saw a lot of wombo combo potential
Oh, yeah.
happening in like the mid lane and bot lane as well. So yeah, really well played to St. Clair, but that's going to be 2-0 in the favor of McMaster.
Yep. As we finish off this set, any final thoughts on the overall?
I think both teams played really well. I definitely
yeah.
think St. Clair was a little bit outclassed. As McMaster, they really, aside from a couple of picks here and there, as far as like maybe the Elise getting caught out a few times, or even the set as well, because you saw the damage that Lord's Touch Me was doing. It was absolutely absurd. I think that overall, it just came down to which team made fewer mistakes, and that's just what ended up happening. Although I really do like the fact that St. Clair was starting to punish the mistakes on McMaster.
Yeah, and especially the one thing that I really noticed the difference between the two games is that they basically kind of let McMaster get these aggressive wards all the time, let the Leona into their jungle, let them into their jungle, let them get these things, and now the next game they're like, they're going to be here.
Yeah, and
so
they expect it.
We just wait, and like Leona's tanky, but she's not tanky enough to beat 4 people that surprise her. Right.
Well, in my solo teams, I'd say otherwise. But yeah. That being said, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I had a blast casting with you, Chase. I hope you had a good time as well.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to send it out here. Don't be afraid to come out next week as well. It's always a good time here.
Always a good time at St. Clair as we're hosting these League of Legends games for the collegiate. And thank you for your time. I am Chase Acarcion Mitchell. This is Andre, and have a good one.